to Hawaii while DNC staffers are just wondering what they're going to do?
The vice president has taken time off to go spend time with her family. I don't think there's anything wrong with that. I think she deserves some time to be with her family and to have some downtime. She has worked very hard over the last 4 years, and her taking a couple of days to be with her family, good for her. Good for her.
Now, Kamala Harris hasn't truly been seen since she lost the 2024 presidential election to Donald Trump, right? We haven't really seen her. There's been pictures of her. They said that she's in Hawaii with Doug Emhoff and her family. For Karine Jean-Pierre to step out and say that not seeing the vice president of the United States, the current sitting vice president of the United States, to not see her is perfectly fine because she's worked so hard over the last 4 years that she deserves some time off. And what I heard was those rumors that are circling around Kamala Harris and Doug Emhoff possibly getting divorced are probably true, and they really need time to get out of the limelight and out of in front of reporters and cameras to figure out if this sham of a marriage is going to stay intact or if they're going to separate. Because right now the conversation has to be, well, Dougie, honey, I think they want to put me back up for a presidential election in 2028, and as a single, Black female, I don't know if that's going to look good. So you and I, my gay Jewish husband, we should totally stay married for looks for 2028. And if for some reason the American public still is smart enough to not elect me president, then we can get divorced. At least that's how I feel their conversation is going right now, if they are in fact in Hawaii. What's crazy to me is that Karine Jean-Pierre could stand up there and with a straight face say that that woman has worked hard over the last 4 years and deserves a vacation. What did she work hard at? Opening our borders and letting people in, cackling on camera, not having a single thought or brain cell at all to answer any questions from reporters. I don't know one thing that you can sit there and say that Kamala Harris has done over the last 4 years, especially not a positive one. Now, she did say while on The View after Sunny Hostin or Hostin, however the crap you're supposed to say her name, asked her, what would you have done differently over the last 4 years? This is where, side note, I think she lost the election for herself in general. She shot herself in the foot when she said she wouldn't have changed anything, that her and Joe Biden made all the decisions together, and everything that Joe Biden decided she was on board with, and she wouldn't change anything. Well, you can't really say that and on the other side say that you're going to make all these changes under your presidency if you didn't think there was anything wrong with the things that transpired under your vice presidency. It let America see that she was full of crap, that when she did not have an answer prepared for her to either memorize or read or listen to in her little earrings that she had on, she had no clue how to answer that question that wasn't going to hurt her. Now you have, on top of Kamala Harris basically being missing for the last however many weeks, it's been, what's today? Today is November 24th. So it's been 19 days since the election, since she lost the election, almost 3 weeks. And we haven't seen Kamala Harris really doing anything at all to fulfill her vice presidential duties, not her campaign running duties. Like she has been checked out from her job for months. It's not just the last 3 weeks since she lost the presidential election. It has been for months, since the day Joe Biden took his name off of the Democrat ballot, which I believe was, I'm going to try to remember the date. I want to say it was like July 21st or 22nd or 23rd, somewhere in there. It was on a Sunday. I know that much. And it was posted on X, and it was signed by somebody that wasn't him and underlined by somebody. And it wasn't on White House letterhead, but that's not the point here. The coup was done no matter what, no matter how it was pulled. Since then, Kamala Harris has not been a vice president, even though before that she, vice president in name only. What is it? Instead of Rhino, Republican in name only, it's Vapino. I don't know how that works. Vice president in name only. That's what she has been for the last 4 years. So her being gone the last 3 weeks, I doubt anybody's really noticed it. I mean, hell, Joe Biden's been mentally gone since COVID shots, if we want to just go ahead and get real, pick at it and really get honest with, since when did Joe Biden mental decline really kick in? It's about there. But anyway, on top of Kamala Harris being named possible 2028 Democrat presidential nominee, they're also trying to say that the other nominee, could be Tim Walz. Why the DNC would want to put, y'all, I'm not even going to play the audio because it's not necessary. The video will speak for itself. Why anybody would want to put Tim Walz in as the presidential candidate for 2028. They really think that this man is going to appeal to American red-blooded men. It didn't work for him as a vice president. Why do they think that this man would be able to pull in enough votes to win a presidency if he could not even get enough votes with Kamala Harris to win as a vice president pick? It's never going to happen. There are things fundamentally wrong with this man. My opinion on that, I do believe that he has some skeletons in his closet, and by skeletons I mean underage boys that he molested during his tenure at whatever schools he was at. I think that he has no clue on what it takes to actually not even run a state successfully. His state, Minnesota, where he is the governor, is there are great people in Minnesota. Let me be very clear about that. There are great people in Minnesota. Tim Walz is not one of them. His push for the gender mutilation is the word I'm going to go with of young children who think they might be trans is just absolutely horrific to me. The fact that in the schools in Minnesota, they have adopted this thought process that boys can pretend to be girls and girls can pretend to be boys. And so now there's tampons in boys and girls bathrooms. There's something inherently wrong with that. We are not we. Let's be real specific. I say we because I think of us as a country. Like I say we and I'm meaning as a country, but you and I, we are not part of their thought process. So let's break it down specifically. The left are the people who are damaging our children mentally, physically, emotionally, even if they're not putting their hands on them, the things they're putting into their brains, the things that they are grooming them with mentally and some physically, it is going to be the destruction of this country. This country cannot run on wokeness. It cannot run on, I don't even know the right word for this, on delusion. I think maybe that's the word I want to go with. Our country cannot run on delusions. And unfortunately, the left is so busy pushing these delusions on our youth that by the time those youths are old enough to make the decisions that will keep this country going, they're going to destroy it. If we continue on in the path that we are, letting these people on the left have this voice and this ability to target children the way they do, we are not going to have a future. It will be gone. This country will be done and over with because those on the left don't know how to deal with criticism is the word I'm looking for. They don't know how to deal with criticism. They don't know how to deal with anything that involves emotional intelligence or I wish I knew better ways to phrase the things that I feel. Does that ever happen to y'all where you feel a certain way, but you can't quite figure out how to put it into context so that it makes sense? It is disturbing to me how, let's go scenario wise. But this is a little bit different. But there was a woman who worked at Target. And this story was out on social media. I just saw it a little while ago, but there's a woman who worked at Target. And you know, at Target, you have to have name tags. It has the Target logo and it has your name on it. Well, during Pride Month and other times, they were making name tags for people who work there that had, you know, LGBTQ. They had the pride flag. People could draw on their own name tags and write whatever they want. They were putting pronouns on things and it was fine. Target thought it was fine. The managers at these Target stores thought it was fine. They loved it. It was all about, you know, the whole DEI push, right? Until a woman wrote "In God We Trust" on hers, or "Trust in Jesus." One of those two. I can't remember exactly how it went. Either way, it was a religious thing that she put on her name tag, and her Target fired her. Her Target location fired her for that because they didn't want to bring religion into Target, because they thought it would be divisive. But it was okay to bring in the LGBTQ and pride flags and, you know, pronouns that do not go with their gender assigned at birth, that was perfectly okay. But the second somebody wanted to say, well, if you get to have your opinions labeled on your chest, I get to have mine. And my opinion is, trust in Jesus and in God we trust. I'm going to get fired for that, for speaking my mind on what I believe in. Something horrifically wrong with that. Now, Target Corporation hired her back, not because they agreed with it, I guess because they knew they were going to get sued to oblivion, because you cannot play favorites, one or the other. Just like, it's totally off topic, but let's say you're a smoker. You work an 8-hour shift and you go out and take like 10 smoke breaks, but a person who doesn't smoke is not allowed to leave their workspace to go take breaks. How is that fair? It's not fair. And I know fair isn't a word that a lot of people like to use, but I do believe it needs to be used in certain contexts. It is not fair for people to be able to shove their sexual thoughts down your throat. That sounds wrong, but you know what I mean. The LGBTQ, trans, all this stuff, and I not be able to, on the flip side, share my religious thoughts with you. You cannot have one or the other. If one is allowed, the other should be allowed, both ways. And I agree I think that way on both sides. If I am allowed to post or wear something that says, in God we trust, or trust in Jesus, then sure, go ahead and wear your LGBTQ stuff. But it has to be even. It cannot be one or the other. I don't have to agree with your thing and you don't have to agree with mine. We need to get back to a point where in society we are able to coexist without violence. And I know it sounds weird, but coexist without violence. And I'm saying that on the thought process of the left side. The left, when they disagree with something on the right, they have a tendency to get violent. Whereas if the right disagrees with the left, we're not getting violent. We're using our words. We're using our positions to speak out and bring awareness to situations. Whereas the left, they are using physical forms of awareness. And that's not okay. It shows you the massive difference in mental health and mental capacity and I don't know the right word. Maturity, I think is the right word. Maturity between the right and the left. And it still sucks at the end of the day to sit there and say right and left. We're all people, but we are divided. And it's not, I want to say it's not even because of us. It's because of the people in charge, the people in power, the push for these different narratives, the push for this divide. If mainstream media went away completely, y'all, I fully believe if mainstream media was completely gone and had no say in anything, and stores and businesses and celebrities weren't out there trying to push their ideals or ideologies or whatever on people, that we would not have this massive divide that we have, and we would not have this anger and hate and frustration and hurt and everything that we have on both sides. I think that the problem we are facing in society is society itself. I don't know how to make that part make sense either. If you guys have been here on SquirrelTribe before, you know exactly what I'm trying to say. So there's that. But I've gotten off track here. The whole reason I brought up Kamala Harris and Tim Walz is because I was thinking about it earlier. Who could the left possibly have run for president in 2028? Who can they possibly put on a presidential ballot that could ever even sway somebody on the right side into changing their vote? That's my question. Donald Trump on the presidential ballot in 2024 was strong enough to sway numerous votes from the left and from the middle independent over to the right side, because him versus Kamala Harris, y'all, it was no fight. It was a given that Donald Trump was going to win, just based on his policies alone versus her lack of. All her policies were either stealing Donald Trump's or literal copy and paste Joe Biden's from his website to her website. She had nothing. So of course Donald Trump was going to win. My question now is, and I've been thinking about it, trying to figure out who they could possibly pick besides Kamala Harris and Tim Walz, because neither of them are going to have a snowball's chance in hell of being on a presidential ballot in 2028. There's no way either of them would actually get picked after the the way they got destroyed during this election, right? So who could they possibly put on a ballot in 2028 for Democrats that would have even an iota of a chance of winning? I would like your thoughts on that, because I literally cannot think of a single name of somebody they could pick, because all I can think of are the TV host celebrities, if you will, that have been the parrots for everything. I'm like, Joe Scarborough? No, that's not going to happen. They're not going to try another woman. That's not going to happen. They're not going to put Mika Brzezinski in there. They're not going to put Whoopi Goldberg in there. They're not going to put another female up. They're going to go back to a male for 2028. And I feel like they will go for a white male or a black male in black male. That makes sense for the left. Or a black man in 2028. I do not think that they will put a woman on the ballot again. Hillary Clinton, she's done. She's in the back pulling strings with Obama and Nancy Pelosi and whoever else. She's not going to be on a ballot. Gavin Newsom's not going to be it. If it was going to be a woman, I would say they would try Gretchen Whitmer, Big Gretch, but I don't think they'll do that either. So who would they possibly put on a 2028 Democrat ballot? Because that's who I would want to start paying attention to right now. Watching what they are doing in whatever state they happen to be in and whatever position they happen to be in, to see what they have done, and then just kind of keep an eye on them. I'm curious. I just want to know your thoughts on that. This is just a random conversation I wanted to have with you guys, like 99.9% of the conversations we have. So thanks for letting me do this with y'all today. I love you immensely. I hope you're having a fabulous Sunday morning, and I will see you guys again later today. Okay, bye.